Hi, my name is Kenny Wilmes, and today for my persuasive speech, I'm going to talk about why regulated hunting should be allowed. Personally, I've been hunting for give or take 10 years. Four forms of game: pheasants, deer, pronghorn antelope, and then pretty much all other small game species, the whole 9 yards. For our three main points for today's speech will be how regulated hunting is different from other forms of hunting, and then we'll also be going over how regulated hunting has helped in the U.S., specifically with white-tailed deer and turkeys in Nebraska. And then our third main point will be how regulated hunting helps in Africa. So we'll jump into our first main point on why regulated hunting should be allowed, or why it's different, so to speak. So one main thing that's always put together with hunting that I personally don't like is poaching. Poaching, the definition is basically taking animals by illegal means, whether that be at night, out of season, such as in the summer. You can't hunt deer during the summer, and other forms. And this should not be grouped with regulated hunting, because in poaching, you do no good for the animal, you don't pay any fees, and it doesn't go forth to conserve populations. With regulated hunting, all the money goes towards, or a big portion of the money goes towards protecting those species. And then another form of hunting would be fenced-in hunting. This is especially big in places down in Texas that are huge ranches usually, that have animals in them, and some of them are 100,000 acres. But still, it doesn't give the animals a fair advantage, because they're in a fence like we have in our yards. They can't jump over that. And then there's also canned hunting. You sometimes see this in places such as South Africa, where they don't have as many regulations as we do in the U.S. usually. And there they basically put an animal in a area the size of a room, and the hunter goes up. He pays 50 grand or whatever to shoot the animal, and then that's it. You don't do anything with it. But in regulated hunting, all the tag fees go towards the animal, and then through the Robertson-Pittman Act, which was passed in the 1900s, a portion of old taxes for things such as guns, ammo, etc., go toward furthering conservation efforts. And regulated hunting is done with quotas. In quotas, they look at how many animals can be taken out of a herd, usually by county or by state, and they only set that limit. They don't let you go above that, which thus makes it so that animals aren't over-harvested, but it also makes it for a good population, so there's no more disease than there needs to be, there's no starvation than there has to be, and it really helps animals. So for our second point, we'll be talking about first how hunting has helped turkeys in Nebraska. Turkeys were once all over Nebraska, but by the 1860s, turkeys were pretty much wiped out in Nebraska. I believe by the early 1900s there were none left, and there were none left for quite a while. But in the 1960s, turkeys were reintroduced into the Pine Ridge area of Nebraska, which is the northwest portion, and these turkeys kind of flourished, because this is where they were supposed to be. And they furthered on into other parts of the state through stocking, and now you can't really go into Nebraska and not see a turkey. Nebraska has one of the highest populations of turkeys in the country, and there's 4 main different types of turkeys in Nebraska. There's a mix between domestic and some wild type. And then there's the eastern subspecies, the Rio Grande subspecies, and the Marion subspecies. And that's basically how turkeys were reintroduced in Nebraska, through hunter efforts to put forward money to bring back that great animal. Also in white-tailed deer, in the 1600s, 1700s, when settlers first started to come over, deer were all over. I mean, they were flourishing, but by the time the 1800s and 1900s came around, they were diminishing all over. In fact, throughout much of the southeast, you rarely ever saw a deer because people used them for food, for clothing, and because they were eating their crops. But through hunter efforts and conservation efforts, deer are now all over. They're found in 49 states, I believe. I believe that there's some in Hawaii, and the only state that's not in is Alaska, where the white-tailed deer hasn't ever been. And through conservation efforts also, those deer have been reintroduced, which has, of course, helped a lot because, especially around here, it's rarely you go a day without seeing at least one deer, whether it's in your yard, crossing the street, or whatever it be. And then for our third main point, we're going to be going over how hunting has helped in Africa. In Africa, there's tribes out there, and instead of using that land that they could otherwise use for grazing cows and stuff, they see that there's an added use to at least let the animals such as lions, hippos, gazelles, etc. live on that land so then they can have people come in and hunt them. And that gives the animals a value, so to speak. And the deer or the gazelles and impala and all that other stuff, it's kind of sad that they have to pay their way, I guess, but otherwise they wouldn't be there. There's millions upon millions of miles in Africa that are put forward just for these big ranches for hunting that otherwise would just be turned to pasture for cows. And also this makes jobs for the people over there, whether that be trackers, skinners for skinning the animals, cooks, even housekeepers, that gives them an added incentive to do it, to get another job. And I'll be going over my three main points for my speech. They will be how hunting has helped in the how regulated hunting is actually different from other forms of hunting, and then how hunting has helped in the U.S., how hunting has helped in Africa, and also how hunting's good, I guess. I hope that you have learned something about hunting and how it can be effectively used for the betterment of all species, both human and non-human.